Ladies and gentlemen, I've been vegan for the last 3 or 4 years, and for the majority of that time, I've actually been predominantly fruit-based. And, well, now I eat a carnivore diet. And in this video, I'm gonna share why I made what I think has been the most imperative shift in my diet that I've ever made in my life, considering that my goals are, well, just to live a happy, healthy life full of vitality, all right? And in short, if you don't wanna watch this whole video, basically, I just realized that humans are biologically, anatomically designed to eat meat. We thrive on animal fats. And yeah, in this video, I'm gonna go over my main 3 kind of realizations that I came to that led me to make this shift. I honestly haven't felt this good in many, many years. And I think by the end of this video, it should be pretty obvious why that's the case. Number 1, our ancestors ate meat and were thriving. If you haven't heard of the work of Weston Price, I highly recommend diving deep. His work absolutely floored me. And in short, he was a dentist that lived in the 1930s, and upon noticing, wow, our human race is absolutely pathetic. We are getting punier and sicker, and we have cavities. His primary work was around cavities, but it became much more than that. You know, why are humans living with so much tooth decay? You know, clearly we wouldn't have evolved and survived as a species if we were always this sick. So what he did was he traveled around the world studying indigenous populations that were still living in accordance with how they evolved with their ancestors. There was no break in the chain, right? And he didn't just study groups in Africa and South America and the Pacific Islands. He also studied European communities in northern Scotland, in the Swiss Alps, all right? And basically what he noticed was that all these indigenous communities that were still isolated enough that they weren't adapted to what he calls the white man's food. What was so interesting is they all lived completely healthfully, free from the degenerative diseases that are plaguing us in our Western world, okay? Things like heart disease and cancer and obesity. These were not present in these groups of people, but also mental debilities that we're suffering from, things like depression and ADHD and Alzheimer's. Our hormones are all messed up, right? These groups lived free from all the suffering and degenerative diseases that we do in our society, okay? And they were also said to have had lovely temperaments, despite living in pretty rugged environments, most of them. And what they all had in common is they all thrived eating lots of meat, prioritizing animals in their diet. They were documented to have incredible vitality and big, robust bodies and beautifully formed, like literal skulls. Their faces, their jaw lines grew in stronger, and they had perfect teeth with no cavities, all right? They were literally thriving human animals, all right? And they lived on what would have been their natural diet. They evolved eating over thousands and thousands of years, which was predominantly animals, okay? And I think if we want to get a grasp on what humans are meant to eat, where better place to look than humans living as they naturally evolved, all right? There's never been a documented case of an indigenous population anywhere in the world that was vegetarian or vegan or even close.
Where's the meat?
All humans living naturally thrive and cherish animal foods. And I think that speaks volumes. That just, that really hit me. That's reason number 1. Number 2, meat is delicious. And I pray you hear me out on this one, okay? Because this is actually really important, okay? Why would God put me on this earth? Allah, Jehovah, why would I evolve to be here right now? It doesn't matter what language you use, but why would I be here? Clearly perfection in my design and have such a strong desire to eat meat, a juicy burger, bacon and eggs for breakfast with some maple syrup and some French toast on the side. Like, why would I have these obvious cravings for meat if I wasn't meant to eat it, okay? Name one other animal in the wild that has to abstain from what it desires, okay? You don't see the cow going, oh mate, I'd like to eat that grass over there, but I'm on a diet. My doctor said I can't have any more even though I'm hungry. I'm gonna stay on the pavement over here. Like, no. As a rule, in nature, all animals can eat their natural diet to complete satiation. And what they are attracted to nourishes them. You see this everywhere in nature. Animals are naturally attracted to what is going to nourish their bodies, okay? And okay, there maybe is some random case where they might eat some plant that kills them, but that's because plants are trying to kill us. And I'll dive more into that. That's point number 3, actually. But as a rule, what is desirable is nourishing. Right, but caveat, guys. You might be thinking to yourself, well, Aaron, I've actually heard animal products are the devil, and they're really bad for us, and they're actually what's making us sick. And what I'm here to say is that is absolute horseshit, okay? If you look at the actual clear evidence, our consumption of animal products has been going consistently dramatically down in the last 100 years. And at the same time, the rates of all chronic disease are steadily on the rise to the pinnacle that we live at today, where the entire alphabet has many, many names for all the crazy things we can be diagnosed with. The reality is every aspect of health has gone down in the last 100 years. We may be living a little bit longer in some ways, but living heavily medicated for the last 30 years of our life, I don't think is an achievement, okay? Basically, what I'm saying is that the evidence to support that quality animal products are bad for our health is completely cherry-picked, and consumerism is at the heart of it all. You know, these big corporations can make a lot more profit when we buy their Cocoa Puffs and their Kellogg's and their Fruity Loops, as opposed to when we go and support our local farmer and eat what our body is actually designed to eat, let alone the whole pharmaceutical industry and how they enjoy keeping us sick so that they can profit on that as well. But that's for, oh man, you could go deep on that. So yeah, to wrap this caveat up, maybe I'm suggesting that humans aren't sick because of animal products. We're actually sick because of a lack of quality animal products, let alone the other plethora of toxins in our society. At the end of the day, our ancestors proved that humans are designed to thrive on an animal-based diet. And the tenacity that the media has to blame animal products for our degenerative condition, I think is absolutely silly. Point number 3, plants are trying to kill you. Hear me out, guys. Again, I think this will actually make a lot of sense if you give me a few minutes, all right? I heard this beautiful quote: animals try and kill you before you eat them, plants try and kill you after you eat them. Honestly, it's purely common sense. Everything in the plant and animal, fungi, all these living kingdoms, hence living kingdoms, they're trying to stay alive by any means they have. So when you try and eat an animal, it's gonna fight back. It has claws and fangs. It can run away. It has mechanisms to survive. Plants can't do that. Plants can't climb a tree. So they rely on their internal defense chemicals so that when you consume them, you don't feel well and you don't go back and eat them again. It's common knowledge that if you were plunked down in the woods somewhere and you needed to survive, your buddy comes up to you and says, Oi, Aaron, I found some berries. Let's eat them. We're saved. I would say, hell no, we're not eating those. They're probably poisonous. We naturally assume in the wild that literally everything is poisonous, and for a good reason, because most things are. They literally evolved to survive. But why do we assume that the plants that we buy in the grocery store aren't trying to kill us as well? Perhaps they just aren't quite as adept at it, right? Obviously, they don't kill us, but they are trying to survive. And there are, in fact, I read a study recently that stated that there were more toxic carcinogenic chemicals found within the plant than any of the pesticides we spray on it, because the plant by nature is trying to produce these compounds to survive. So the animal, maybe it's you or an animal in the wild, eats it, goes, I don't feel very good when I ate that, and they don't go back and eat it. and thus that plant survives, okay? Animals try and kill you before you eat them. Plants try and kill you after you eat them. And well, like I said before, our ancestors did eat some plants in various degrees depending on the latitude they lived on the earth. Okay, one interjection: fruit is actually the part of the plant that wants to be eaten, okay? It's very clear when you look at the papaya ripening on the tree. It gets red. It shows an attractive nature because that is how it actually spreads, okay? But things like roots and nuts and seeds and things that aren't clearly saying eat me are heavily defended with plant defense chemicals. Fruit are safe. Fruit do want to be eaten, okay? And our ancestors knew this. Not only did they obviously enjoy fruit and honey, things that humans are naturally attracted to, we literally evolved, coexisting with these plants, helping them spread their seed. But our ancestors knew that many, many plants can't be readily consumed without taking certain measures to break down their plant defense chemicals, like soaking the bag of potatoes in the river for a couple days, or in northern Scotland where they ate a lot of oats, they would ferment the oats. Okay, there's certain practices we need to take to be able to digest these plants safely without the defense chemicals causing a whole range of illness in our body, which I think we see in Western society, given that we've been lied to about what our diet is actually meant to be. That is high in animal products, because once the animal's on your plate, it is no longer defended. And the amount of bioavailable vitamins and nutrients there, your body just loves it. Plants we're like fighting with. It's so hard to get the same nutrients, even when they're there, because the plants are defended. Plants are trying to kill you. And guys, another point about plants is that there is literally nothing essential we get from plants, okay? There's no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. Not that I'm demonizing having some plants here and there, some fruit, some honey. It's great. Our ancestors clearly did enjoy this, but nothing is actually essential, okay? Here's a little analogy, all right? And forgive me for plunking us in the middle of the barren environments, but now we're in the desert, right? And we're starving, we're parched, we're thirsty, and we need to survive. Imagine you stumble upon a big flat of Coca-Cola, tons of Coca-Cola, all you could ever drink. That Coke could literally save your life. You could subsist on that Coca-Cola for probably months until you're saved, okay? But does that mean that it's a biologically suitable food for humans? Obviously not, okay? So while we can get some nutrients from plants and we can subsist on them for certain periods of time, even long periods of time, people can be vegan for 5 to 10 years before their body really starts to break down and degenerate. But does that mean that plants are optimal just because we can get some nourishment from them? I don't think so. Yeah, guys, I thought I was doing my body a service by going vegan. Like, all the propaganda and the demonizing of meat out there really does confuse you as to what you're supposed to be eating. And you think that eating all these plants is healthy, but in reality, I don't believe it is. I think the reason that people oftentimes do feel better and have even healed diseases going onto a plant-based diet isn't because of what you're getting at all. It's because of what you're cutting out. And oftentimes going more plant-based is correlated with exercising more, cutting out fast food and seed oils and processed sugars. These are the things that are killing us. And when you cut them out, even though you're not necessarily getting adequate nutrition from the plants, everything you've cut out makes you feel better, okay? But then over time, your body, which has stores of all the essential nutrients and vitamins and minerals that it has accumulated from eating healthy animal products for most of your life, they start to deplete, and over time, things that aren't essential break down first. Your skin breaks out, your nails get brittle, your hair starts to get a little bit thinner, your hormones get messed up, which then messes with your mood, all these non-vital things. Reproduction isn't as essential as your heart beating and your lungs breathing. And then eventually fatigue sets in. The stories I've heard and personally witnessed of people's health dramatically improving when they reintroduce animal products after however long a span they were omitting them. You know, people's hormones balance out, their skin gets vibrant again, and their mood increases. I think it's an unpopular opinion, but I think the biggest cause of mental disorders, which all stem from your hormones, you know, depression and ADHD, our mental state being a little not stable, is due to an inadequate diet. It's just obvious. If you feed a cow dirt for 10 years, it is not going to be doing well, not physically nor mentally. You give it grass again, you give it its natural species appropriate diet, and all the vitality comes back. And that's what I see with humans and good friends of mine all the time. The reality of my realization is that we have been demonizing the wrong foods and blaming the wrong foods on our health crisis. It's not the quality animal foods that are making us sick. It is the lack of them, okay? And the last thing I'll touch on before I wrap up this video is the topic of ethicality. And I think personally, the most ethical thing you can do is nourish your own body, okay? If you don't take care of number one, you can't take care of number two. But there is a beautiful correlation because, you know, I don't want to see an animal suffer. I don't want to see it abused. I am going to take its life and gain vitality from it. But I think there's a bit of a sacred process to that. And you may disagree, but there's this beautiful correlation where if your main priority is selfish, is to nourish your own body as much and as well as you possibly can, then consequently, you're naturally going to be prioritizing the healthiest, most naturally raised animals, because it's only by eating healthy, happy, vibrant animals that you are going to be a healthy, happy, vibrant human. So I think if you prioritize your health fully, you're actually making the most ethical choices possible, which is beautiful. Of course it works like that because humans are naturally meant and designed to thrive on this diet. Right, okay. That's why I switched to eating carnivore. I feel robust, I feel strong, I'm still getting stronger every day. And guys, I don't mean to be dogmatic, like eat some vegetables if you want, go nuts, all right? Eat some fruit, eat honey. Personally, right now, I'm thriving on a purely carnivore diet. I think there's a bit of the pendulum swing after malnourishing my body on a vegan diet for so many years. I'm really just, my body is soaking in the animal fats and absolutely loving it. But I'm sure in the future, I'll have some fruits, I'll have some honey, I'll go back into that, maybe have some alcohol here and there. Like again, I don't think we should be dogmatic about diets. I think we should eat what fills us with vitality and makes us feel our best, which for me, and I think for all the human species, is a animal-based diet, a diet rich in animal products. That is why I swapped over. That's all.